I'd like to call this meeting of the Clay County Commission to order. We will begin with our invocation. Teresa Leeming, I believe, is here to do that, if you would like to proceed.
Heavenly Father, I ask you to bless our commissioners with favor, grace, wisdom, and insight. Lead and guide them in the way they should go to make Clay County, Missouri a great place to live, learn, work, and play. Strengthen them as they lead with vision and virtue. I thank you for your provisions and for your protections of our first responders and our military, and for keeping our county safe thus far from damaging weather. And I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte?
Here.
Commissioner Withington? Here. Commissioner Lawson? Here. Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Commissioner Thompson? Here. Commissioner Carpenter?
That brings us to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion? Commissioner Withington, were you wanting to make that motion?
I get my thing for the roll call.
Very well. Commissioner Wagner, then, if you, darn it, let me go back again. I tell you what, you didn't take.
I got it. Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much. Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's agenda. Discussion. Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And I will try to go rather quickly tonight since we seem to have some weather possibly rolling in. Public comments. Are there members of the public who would care to comment at this time? Seeing none. That brings us to our consent agenda. Is there a motion related to today's consent agenda? Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion's been made for the approval of this evening's consent agenda. Discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. That brings us to our regular agenda. First item is 2026-115. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, 2026-115, approval of invoice payments for Clay County Prosecutor's Office from the period April 11th through April 17th of 2026. Total of one invoice totaling $171.95.
Thank you. Commissioner Wagner.
Yes. Move to approve 2026-115.
Motion's been made for approval of 2026-115. Further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 in favor, 1 recusal.
Second issue on the regular agenda, and the final one is 2026-116. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, 2026-116, appointment of members to the Children's Services Fund Board. This was one that has been disseminated to you all as a commission. It is a appointment of Delaney Ray Waters for a term expiring December 31st of 2028.
Very good. Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Move to approve 2026-116.
Motion has been made for approval of 2026-116. Discussion. Commissioner Withington.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm happy to see a very qualified person appointed to this board.
Very good. Further discussion beyond that? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
That brings us to our discussion items. First item on this evening's agenda is the Parks Master Plan progress. And Parks, Mr. Administrator?
Yes. As stated in there, the Parks Master Plan update, we have our Parks Director, John Davis, and our consultant here to give an update. This has been ongoing for the past few months. So it'd be good to give a status update, a check-in point that we have. So I'll go ahead and leave the remainder portion of that to them.
Please proceed.
John Davis, Parks Director. Tonight, we have Alex Lipton with CHM Government Services, our vendor with the Master and Strategic Plan. She's going to give a quick update on progress. So, give it to Alex.
I'll be super quick since I hear there's weather coming. I think I've met most all of you, so thank you for letting us come here to, okay, thanks. Thanks for letting us give you an update as to where we are. As you know, this scope of work included several project tasks. It included a site visit, some stakeholder engagement, demographic profile, community engagement, a statistically valid survey, program and facilities assessment, working on financial analysis, and then that's going to culminate with a master plan and strategic plan. We were here in October, and we toured almost all of your assets. We met with all of the Parks Department relevant staff, and we held vision and mission statement goals and goals sessions with all of the administration staff, and we met with the Park Advisory Board. We also met with key partners like the Army Corps, the Golf Operator, and tourism. Megan. We had our stakeholder engagement meeting. This was some pictures from our vision and mission statement workshop we did with staff. We've had a lot of stakeholder engagement meetings. We've met with there were over 70 people on the list. So we've met with everyone who was willing to respond. We have issued a draft vision and mission statement to John, and we've gotten some feedback from his staff. This week, we're going to start socializing these mission statements and vision statements to get some refinements, and we're going to give John some activities that he can do with his staff to refine these further. The statistically valid survey was mailed out in December, and miraculously, we got, even with Christmas, over 300 responses by the end of January, which you should know is about twice as fast as we would normally get responses. So that really shows that your community is engaged and wants to be a part of this process. And we were looking at all the normal key themes. We were asking about facility conditions, how often they're using, why are they using other facilities instead of the county facilities, what are their priorities, and things like that. This is probably too small for you to see, but we gave some of our high-level findings. The entire report was already given to the Parks Department and Damon, but the highest-rated facilities in the system were Smithville Lake Parks and Trails, the golf course, and mountain bike trails. Interestingly, the top 3 reasons people didn't use park facilities, lack of awareness was very high up there. And then when we asked people how do they want to find out about park events, they said social media, the website, and emails. So that very much is a trend that we're seeing across other counties and other jurisdictions as well. The high priorities for future investments included campgrounds, trails, some food and beverage, and watercraft rentals. And people wanted some special events, farmers market, music events, holiday celebrations, and they did say the areas for improvement were Trist Falls, Rocky Hollow, and the beaches. So those kind of have jived with what we've seen on our own, particularly with the facilities and the areas for improvement. We used that information to create a second survey that's now on the community engagement website. We have a project website that we've been sharing. There's a QR code that John has on some business cards that he's been handing out. And we used the information we got from the statistically valid survey to inform what we wanted to ask in the community engagement second survey. There's also an interactive map where people can drop a pin and they can let us know what they're thinking about that particular location, where they want trail connectivity or where they see something they like, where they see something they need. We went to the first of the 2 community engagement events in January. Molly went and did Eagle Days. You see her there with Swoop the owl. We had over 2,600 attendees, and she had a chance to talk to all the different residents, and the kids did the little brown bottom left picture that you see there was their input on what they wanted to see in parks. We're doing our next engagement event this Saturday. So we are having a camping outdoor showcase. We have some RV demonstrations coming in. We'll have food, and we expect a few hundred people, hopefully. And we're going to, if we don't find people there, we're going to go to the people at Trailheads and try to find them. We're going to be using this time to direct them to the website survey because there were some things we wanted to drill deeper down into. The facilities and program assessment has just wrapped up. We haven't issued it yet in final to the Parks Department because we're waiting to collaborate amongst ourselves, but we did get some input from them at this point. But we looked at, it's a very long form, this is just a snippet from it, and it's just kind of assessing all the strengths and like a SWOT analysis, and then telling what our recommendations are. There was a GIS component to this part of the assignment, and we've got some good new parks boundaries maps for you. And we have some really good detail. We can get all the way down to every asset that's located at each park, and this is going to help us with managing the system as a whole rather than just looking at each individual park. This is another example of where you can see like every single thing that's at the campsite. Then our program assessment, the predominant areas of programming you have now, we found were nature and environmental education with your cultural and historic resources being up there too, outdoor recreation and special events. But things that we recognize you don't do, and maybe that's by design because a lot of the municipal systems take care of traditional sports, arts and culture, and fitness and wellness. And it's not going to get into the details of these, but we've been in the numbers and really kind of created a snapshot of where we are in terms of attendees to events and how things are trending over the last few years. We've done preliminary benchmarking. We chose 3 counties. We chose Jackson County, Missouri, St. Charles County, Missouri, and Anoka County, Minnesota as benchmarking, to benchmark against. And we've found that in general, you just have a much smaller budget, but we're looking at budget, we're looking at the size of your systems, we're looking at the different programs that you offer, and we'll be putting out a benchmarking analysis. We're also using the benchmarking against CAPRA standards to help you get towards your goal of CAPRA accreditation. We're finishing up our financial analysis. We already did one big document where we reviewed key partnership agreements and contracts, including all the contracts you see listed here. And we looked at things like the financial structure and trying to determine if they're mutually beneficial to both the county and the vendor. We've really digging into the numbers. Tomorrow I'll be spending the day with John and staff to find out. We've looked at the numbers now, and now we have questions, and we want to ask, what do these mean, and why are these numbers doing the things that we think they're doing? The CAPRA readiness assessment that I mentioned, pre-plan, you guys were at 27% ready to apply for CAPRA accreditation. Upon issuing this report, we'll have taken you to 44%, and then our strategic objectives in the plan will get you closer to being able to get CAPRA accreditation, which will open up doors for a lot of grant opportunities. The master plan is about 70% done. We've been doing all the pieces of it and feeding them to John and Damon, and then we'll be putting them into one document. The early identified themes of importance are connectivity, enhancing the visitor experiences, right-sizing what you have, and capital planning. And the strategic plan, we're about 50% done. Marketing and awareness is probably the top theme, I would say. Communications and collaboration, meaning with other municipalities and your partners. Business planning, program enhancement, and looking at your financial sustainability and cost recovery by department, and continuing your CAPRA pursuit. We are at the analysis and benchmarking portion of the timeline, and we are still on target to be completing a draft by midsummer and have a complete document to you by the fall. And this is the QR code that will take you to the website if you haven't been to the project website now, and you'll also be able to click and see what people have left, where they've left comments on the pins if you're interested. I think that's it. Do you have any questions?
Discussion, Commissioner Withington?
So I believe were you the one I talked to?
Yes.
Okay. And so I know that we actually held this up for a few months because we wanted to see an actual countywide master plan. And I brought that up. I didn't hear anything about a countywide master plan. Did that get changed? Are we not doing that?
Our scope of work was to do the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. We're only looking at Parks and Recreation Department.
So remember we held this up for months because we said we wanted if we were going to approve this, we were going to get a Parks Master Plan that was countywide, that drilled down to right-of-way acquisition, right-of-way and everything for a countywide trail plan.
We are going to be looking at where you can connect. We have it sort of the easier areas where you can connect some trails, and then where some are going to be aspirational places to join trails to get that connectivity. And we'll lay out some potential opportunities and things we think you should be looking at to gain right-of-way. But this was, that doesn't go further than that. We're not actually getting you the
Well, this
right-of-ways.
doesn't, maybe I'm wrong, but this doesn't sound like what we had discussed. We talked about an actual countywide master plan. This sounds like something staff probably could have done in-house.
I'm not sure about holding it up, because when I got here, you guys had approved it.
Before you came, this
Yeah.
came before us, and
But what you do have here is a master plan looking at your entire park system throughout the entire county. So part of it is engagement beyond just what's at your main node areas, which is pretty much Smithfield Lake, things of that sort. But one of the things we talked about was looking at the master plan when it comes to trail systems connecting to those municipalities. Part of it is that you're a built-out county. So when you have municipalities who already have a park system, it's one of the slides she mentioned there, talked about that, where you have some of the activities they already have going. What can we do to help with those activities more than hinder?
Yeah.
So we've reached out to each of them as part of that list of about 70 partners that we're engaging with to try to figure out what they have and what they got as far as engagement-wise. I mean, when you look at places like Gladstone, Liberty, stuff like that, they already have certain things already going. But if there are parts that we can use on our system to help with that.
well, and that's what I
help.
was, because we
Yeah.
have a rural park system, and
Yeah.
we should have a more urban park system, and that was one of our biggest concerns and why we held this up when it was presented to us originally.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, we do have a real park system. Part of that is connecting them with what they have, so.
So is this plan actually looking at how we can become more urban and work with municipalities and tie in? Because that was one of our biggest things was, at the time, was the fact that the Western District pays taxes, has 0
Park.
county parks, and how we wanted to look at how we could tie into the overall trail system. And we even specifically Wagner mentioned right-of-way and all that. And we were told that that was going to be part of this.
Can you go back to your GIS portion? But to answer your question, it is trying to look at the entire county as far as how can we provide our system regarding that one, as far as working with the county. But part of that, we'll be working with other municipalities in that.
Well, I want to make sure, because the only maps I see are of Smithville.
Yeah, and that's pretty much,
And that's not the idea that I
yeah,
was sold.
gotcha. And so that's probably because we're looking at where we currently have our main assets. So typically we have them there. For the most part,
Well, no, yeah, and I get that, and
Yeah.
that was told to us, but we were also told that this was going to be an
Expand
entire
beyond that.
county beyond, because that was our biggest concern, was we were just going to be looking at the Eastern District and what we currently have,
Mm-hmm.
whereas some of us had mentioned that we wanted to have a actual county-wide parks master plan.
gotcha.
And that's what I thought when I voted yes. I'm pretty sure that's what was sold to us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think if I'm hearing, it is a countywide plan in that we are.
Because when you
looking-
and I talked, I even talked about
Right.
the riverfront and all that.
And I talked to Mr. Rhodes from Vario, and we've had conversations. Mr. Broomfield has not called me back yet. Charlie Broomfield?
Oh, yeah, I'll talk to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is a entire county plan in that we've looked at each individual municipality within the county, and we've had meetings with all of those, either parks directors or planning and zoning people, and we've talked about where we could work together. And
So the final product will have like a detailed map on right-of-way and how all the trails can connect, and we can build out a true countywide parks plan?
we will have a robust section about where we can connect trails. I don't think it's going to contemplate every single trail in the entire county that might be a part of a municipality. It was a lengthy scope of work that we responded to, and we're meeting those requirements.
That's not what was sold to us, though. That's my biggest complaint here.
Well, to have something where you have all the right-of-way.
Well, we were talking about all the right-of-way. We were talking about an actual plan that would say, by year 5, this would, like a timeline and everything.
Yeah.
Because this is just gonna be a piece of paper that sits on a desk.
I don't, it was very clear, Ms. Lawson particularly made it very clear that she does not want the demographic information and just information you already know. There are gonna be a lot of things
Well,
that
yeah.
you can do. Now, they might not be the sexy things like giant, huge new buildings and things like that. There's a
Well,
lot of.
I don't want
Yeah.
huge new buildings.
Yeah, right.
So-
This is going to be trail connectivity, communication, collaboration, sales and marketing, looking at your business planning with a lot of your contracts. There was a lot of information we uncovered looking through all your contracts.
Well, I just feel like sales and marketing could have probably been done by staff in-house and
Bill-
not
Bill too.
$250,000 study.
No, it was more than that.
Was it?
So as far as master planning, I think the key word is master plan. So you kind of come up with an idea, and you look at what you have as a gamut as a park system. Park system is made up where you have regarding revenues, assets, and then what you provide as services. And then you look at what do the citizens want regarding that one. So that was probably a major portion of what they're looking at now. The fact that you haven't done one in 20 plus years probably speaks to a lot of that, because typically you don't know what everybody wants. Things have changed a lot in the past 20 years. And one of the major things people want are trails. But when you have a system where you're coming behind that, and majority of all the municipalities you have already went forward with that, you got to figure out where do you fit in that scenario regarding that one. So part of that is talking to them and figuring out where we are. The next part is talking to your citizens and figure out what they want to see out of your system. And one of the key parts that you had on there was you gave what you can do or what you're doing good, things like Eagles Days, things like that. But you also gave what you're not doing good at. And I think it's one more slide before that one. So you went through the survey, maybe one more. I was thinking about the one that showed what the other places are doing.
Oh, okay, benchmarking.
Benchmarks.
Is this the one you're thinking of?
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong about that, but regardless, the next one up. Compare to other places you got, things of that sort. So from our standpoint, now we're at a point where we got to figure out what are we doing operationally well and what we're doing not. You got a golf course, you got your marina, you got your campgrounds, and you got all the different contracts. We want to look into those, figure out where we could get more funding at, or where we're not getting funding at. Because regardless, you're right, it will sit on the shelf if you don't have the funding to do it. So you want to try to be as efficient as possible with what you got.
So I understand that,
Yeah.
and I didn't have any concerns about that. My concern was we were gonna spend $250,000, $300,000.
$250, yeah.
And what I wanted was something like Platte County that had a true countywide park system, not just a rural park system. And I thought that that's what we had asked for, and that's what we were given.
I haven't seen Platte County, so I have to look at what you're talking about there.
Well, I'm talking about their overall park system,
Yeah.
how, the Line Creek Trail goes through 3 or 4 different municipalities, and we had said that that's what that we wanted out of a master plan here was a true countywide parks master plan, not just the golf course, the marina, Smithville Lake.
So you want a trail plan?
No, I'm talking about parks, like, I even
I know.
mentioned playgrounds, stuff like that, how we could partner with and have an actual countywide, and because before you came with Diana, we actually put this on hold because we didn't get any assurances that this was gonna be a true countywide parks master plan.
Okay. Well, that goes back to your stakeholder meetings that we're trying to talk through and figure out what people want. Then it comes back to the other slide that we had, keep going down, the one with all the different scenarios of what they want. So as far as paying for it, yeah, $250,000 is what we're gonna pay for it. As far as coming out with actual master plan to show what Platte County has, I'll have to look to see what Platte County got.
I'm not
might help
talking about
me.
I'm not talking about Platte County's master plan per se. I'm talking about a park system like Platte County. Clay County focuses solely in Smithville, around Smithville Lake. Platte County focuses countywide. And so when we talked about this, we talked about a true entire county master plan for parks. And I even made the argument at that time, we have a rural park system. We are an more urban county. You have people in the Western District who pay and have no county parks in the district. So I wanted to look at how we could expand, and that's what I thought we were getting here, and I thought some of the other Western commissioners backed me up on that. How we could expand the county park system to the western side of the district also, and become more of a more urban park system. And we even talked, and Scott brought it up. What you're talking about is we want to get down to right-of-way for trails, and I said, let's look at how we can partner to build some playgrounds, stuff like that. And it sounds like all we focused on was Smithville Lake. And if that's the case, then maybe I'm wrong, and I was setting.
I would not say we only focus on Smithville
Setting in a
Lake.
different meeting, so.
I wouldn't say we only focus on Smithville Lake. Thus far, that has not just been the sole focus.
No, I mean, I know you guys said you talked to some stakeholders and talked to municipalities, but like the photos that we just showed of actual maps was Smithville Lake.
Yeah.
So,
Well, on that one, but I mean, you haven't showed the entire map, so you got to look at all of it together.
can we get a copy of the report to look at?
If you want a copy of the report, that'd be fine.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's going to give you what you want. So what you're asking for is the entire county to look at all the trail systems they got.
Not
And
just
know-
trails, I'm talking parks and everything. Like.
I know, I'm saying, but you got to have property to own the park. You can't just own a park in a
Well,
place that you don't have property.
So I'm not
at.
talking about the county owning it. I was talking about opportunities for the county to step in. Kansas City's got a massive amount of greenway. 50% of the city parks, or parkland, is in the Northland. Where
Yeah.
could the county partner with Kansas City? Where could, Gladstone has some vacant lots that, we could work with them on. That's what I was talking about, was where the county could help step in to fill gaps in the more urban.
But that
parts.
takes a conversation.
I know, and that's what I thought this master plan was going to do.
Yeah, I'm saying, but I can't master plan a piece of land that I don't own and I haven't conversated with
So
them.
I'm not talking about master plans. So I think you and I are talking about two different things. Like, I'm not talking about like doing a master plan for each individual park. Like, opportunities, that's what I was talking about. Like,
Okay.
where we could
We'll do that.
help fit in.
I think what would help though is I'll work with you directly on exactly what you're trying to get at.
Yeah,
And that would help on this
and
because
when we had our initial phone conversation, that was exactly what I brought up, because that's what,
I wasn't on your phone conversation.
I know you weren't. But that's
So-
exactly what was presented to us in the commission meeting, was it was going to be an actual countywide thing, so.
So, I'll give one. So during the stakeholders, like the parks departments, they have communicated with all the parks directors that would participate. I think some were out. But there also is still engagement going on. If you go to the website, and citizens and whoever, parks directors, whoever, city officials can go in and say, on the map, click. And there's some spots down in the urban areas or where you give suggestions of what you want to see or whatever it wants to see. So it's not done yet.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, this is just to let you know where we are now. We were supposed to meet with you early on, which we did, then mid-time, and then present the final report.
Well, I just wanted to say something, because I figured if I didn't say anything, we probably would get to the end of it and people would be like, oh, we didn't know this, so.
Yeah, I think to your point, we're complementing, not competing. So we know what our lane is, and we're staying in it as the Clay County Park System, and I think that's, maybe we need to start thinking about drifting into other lanes a little bit to
Well, I'm not even
recognize-
talking about, stepping on toes, like how we can come alongside and help our municipalities, because the Western District pays taxes too, and we have 0 county park services. And I make that case every year in budgets, so, I thought maybe I was just, I don't know. But I thought that's what we were looking at here too, so.
I'm sorry, does that conclude your remarks?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Commissioner Wagner?
Thank you. So never fear, I was going to jump on in here too. And maybe I can dissect a couple comments or suggest a couple things. Because just to kind of use the example that Commissioner Withington mentioned, the example I gave was of the trail along Cersei Creek. And there's a lot of master plans that have been out there, but it requires to move, if you're going to make a complete connection, you're going through Clay Como, which currently has no right-of-way set aside for a trail to go through there. So you have these little pieces like that where maybe Kansas City's done something, we've done something, but it cannot connect for a variety of different reasons. And so, well, first, let me say, I totally understand and agree with the notion of if Clay County has assets, we need to know what to do with them. So you have to do that. But I think what I would say, and what I believe my colleague would say, is just don't lose sight of the other things that make up a complete system. And I would agree that can we come over top and master plan Kansas City stuff or Gladstone stuff or Smithville stuff? No, of course not. But I believe part of our role, or at least a role that we can contemplate, is how do we add capacity to those communities to be able to offer more in their communities than they currently do. And I would use the example, maybe it's a good one, maybe it's not, but even within our structures, we collect money for road districts. We don't tell the road districts what to do with the money they get, but we capture it and it gets sent to them. And as an aside, I would say that's not funded correctly, but that's for another time. But the comparison I'm trying to make is that as an entity, we can, and I think should, contemplate, especially if the numbers are so low as they are, and if we want to give life to whatever plan comes, my belief is the only way you assure this does not sit on a shelf in whatever iteration it comes is you must fund it. But what is it you're going to fund? And I would simply say, and maybe I'm going to interpret the comment in a baseball way, because why not? What are our big swings that we're taking with this plan? How do we say, for example, I want to get from the riverfront all the way to Smithville Lake? How do I do that? To me, that's a big swing because there's a lot that would have to happen for that to occur. But without a planning document that suggests something big like that, we will never go for anything like that. It will never happen. And I would just say that sometimes the community can bring out those big ideas if they're prompted to think about that. Or sometimes if they're merely asked, well, what do you think of our assets? They will give you an answer based on that. So in some respects, it kind of depends on the question. And having not participated, I don't know how big of a question has been asked. But I do think if it is something down the road that we may be asking someone to help us fund, then I think we have to figure out what those big swings are. And not only be cognizant of our own assets, but be thinking about how can you create greater assets throughout the county in partnership with our municipalities as well as with the assets that we have. So I think I would just encourage us to figure out how do we make those connections? How can we bring capacity? How can we take the assets we have and grow them? To me, those are the sorts of things that, at least for me, had me interested in trying to get this funded and doing this thing. And so my hope is that the product that comes speaks to some of those big swings. And I know when you're in the middle of it, it's kind of hard to project out what you're going to have at the end. But as I noticed further in the slide presentation, some of those things that are driving those values, if you will, that's driving this, connectivity is one of them. Mm-hmm. So how are we connecting everybody to our systems, and how can we grow their systems so that they can grow into ours? And so I'll just stop there before I
Can
drone on.
Can I step in on that? Can you go to slide 7, please? So I would say that's, what Commissioner Whittington, that's, when I was hearing countywide, I got what you're asking for now. So what you're asking for is pretty much, let's get down to it in the portion of provide an overall map of Clay County and show where the main areas of trails. Let's just use that one as an example.
That's a great example.
So if you use that one as an example, that kind of gets back to what Commissioner Whittington is asking for. And that's why I said we'll talk on the side, because I was trying to get a better feel for what he was getting at. No. That's why I was telling you, I was talking, because when you mentioned, seriously, when you mentioned the creek in Platte County and what that looked like as far as going down a trail, part of that was going through Riverside and other places, but part of that was also certain ownership was in different capacities. And so that's why I was going back to the ownership, because part of it is what do you want to see? And I got what you're getting at. You want to come from the master plan, not only looking at the connectivity of all the different trails, then from there, what would that look like as far as how do we move forward for that? So if we provide that update, these are the 3 goals of what we're going to have out of this, outside of just paying for things or just looking at revenue, just doing capital projects. What would be some big goals coming out of that?
Right.
And so that's what I was asking, when you said countywide, we're still looking countywide, but I think what key part you mentioned to me was we were looking at priorities, and what you're asking is, are these priorities, these are what we gotten from talking in conversations, and from everything from, give me those high priorities that I can't see it with my
Sure.
glasses.
Campgrounds, trails, food and beverage, and watercraft rentals. And this is not just from conversations. This is only from the statistically valid survey.
Yeah.
So this is just the highlights.
So
Sure.
the difference of that is when you go into if we go into the master plan, we ask the question, what would you think about if you could go from a trail from North Kansas City to Smithfield? What appetite do you have for that as a citizen? Do you want that to be a bike trail or something like that? So that changes their ideology of what we're looking at. So I don't know how many of you have been to Arkansas area, but if you've been into Fayetteville or in that area, how they have marketed their trails throughout, where 3 counties meet together, 3 cities, Rogersville and Fayetteville area, they all work together to provide a overall trail system. And what you were saying there was, how can we make this plan give us the ideology of what we're trying to look at as a citizen, not just tell them, hey, what did you want based off of those things, but what do you want out of the trails? Not general, I just want trails.
Right.
So, okay.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, the question we should be asking is, what is the greatest value that we can bring to every citizen in Clay County? What provides them the best usage of not just our system, but every system in the county? Because for someone living in Gladstone, for example, they may not be thinking about how do I get to Smithville, but I have a feeling that those parks folks in Gladstone and Smithville and everywhere else for that matter is trying to figure out how do you make that connection. So it's just more than just thinking about our assets and about how do our assets integrate with everybody else's assets, whether that's trails and Smithville Lake and everything else. So don't know what that looks like, but I just throw out there that I think for us to have full value of this plan, then I think we have to look beyond just our own assets and be thinking about how does everything work together in a cohesive system, because that I think ultimately is where everybody sees the value, and then everybody's investing in their systems because it's part of a bigger system. Yeah. So I know there are others who want to
it was
speak.
another example given that Friday when I went to it was a breakfast meeting, and one of the things that was talked about by one of the cities, Smithville, that at one point before the current mayor had took office, that they did not have someone to do their parks, the programming for their sports, and that Liberty would go up there to do the programming for them. Mm-hmm. And from our standpoint, we want to be in the future where we could be able to help with that. That would have been more of a collaboration, but some of the cities have done that in spite of us not being prepared for something like that. But if the county was prepared to do something like that. So I got what you're saying.
It's another great example.
Not knowing that and what we can look at going forward. And that was one of the things too, that so many of our jurisdictions have sports programs, but how can we help with that asset? Maybe that could be building a soccer complex on our county property that all can use, things like that. We don't know what that looks like, but those could be things we could look at.
It's all those ways of how can you add capacity to everybody else?
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is, and I sure don't know how much that'll cost. But I think if we're thinking in that way, then that full countywide value that I think Commissioner Withington is talking about, whether you're on the east or western side of the county, it's a lot easier to talk about and explain. So hopefully I've hit some of those points, but that's how I see it as well.
Okay, real quick. So regards to trails, there's, several plans out there. There's Northland Trails and Greenways plan that's just as old as our current master plan. There's the Metro Green plan. There's the EDC's trail plan. There's Mid-America Regional Council's trail plan. They have all of them. So, like I said, it's not over. So they're looking at all the connectivities and all that. So there's more to it. So would they have been given all that information? We've had contacts with the directors. We've had contacts with municipalities that don't have parks directors, such as if they participate. I mean, we can't force them. So we've done. And if we need to go back and do some more, I'm sure they'll be willing to do so or charge us more money, but we'll figure it out.
Thank you for mentioning that, by the way. I was crossing my mind because I was aware of a couple of those plans, and I knew there were more, so I'm glad that that is in the mix.
And with all of them, there's not a lot of difference between them.
Yeah.
It's just age of the document.
Commissioner Lawson.
Thank you for coming. I bet you just were looking forward to this. No, I do remember very strongly, both of you gentlemen said, hey, we got people on the other side of the county, let's pull it all together. So we do need to look at how we can incorporate, and I do understand. We can't dictate to Gladstone or any of these others, but when I think about it, to draw a parallel, when we did our comprehensive plan for growth in the county, that was one of the things we did. We sat down with all the municipalities and we went to their areas and said, what's plus, what's minus, how do you want to see growth? Opened it up and people told us what they wanted to see. And that plan was compiled with all of the communities in mind, even though we can't tell them what to do. So the same thing's applicable here. As long as we see the value county-wide, and I was real disappointed on the equestrian side, you got no responses. And if you drive up by there where the big parking areas are, on a Saturday, Sunday, you can't get another horse trailer in that area. It's packed with people. So I know they're utilized heavily. So as you do look at these things, even if you don't get some kind of a feedback from them, John should be able to say to you, here's how we clear the trails, here's who clears the trails, here's how much use they get. So when we get that feedback, we're getting all of it. And I'm going to say this again, and I said this strongly once before. Before this plan is released and you come back and make the presentation, I want to see each of us get a copy of that first. So we've got a week or so to really scrutinize that, and we can come up with intelligent questions. So we're not just scrambling ground zero. So I do want to see that. And I hope that for the money spent, this is a document we utilize, because last time I don't think we did at all. I think it sat on a shelf and drew dust. So I want it to be a working document, and it better be good. We're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Thank you. I'll be brief, because I know, to your point, we do have some weather coming in. First of all, thank you, and Director Davis, for all the work. I know that looks like a lot of work's already been put into this, so thank you. But I do want to agree with Commissioner Withington and Wagner and Lawson. We currently have had a pretty niche focused Parks Department. I'm a lifelong resident of the county, but I don't own a boat, and I don't own horses, and I don't golf, and so, and I'm not an especially big Jesse James history buff, and so it's niche enough to where even lifelong residents like me who are active, I love being outside, I heavily utilize trails and traditional community parks, et cetera. I'm not sure, other than visiting those places, I'm not sure I've ever used them in my life, despite living here my whole life. So, to Commissioner Withenden's point, it would be nice to try to expand focus where we can complement our municipalities that are home to so many of us. And the most intuitive way, I know I said on my Zoom call with y'all, the most intuitive way to me is the trail system. Obviously, at the end of the day, we're very limited in the number of dollars we have here, right? We're not especially overrun with cash. And so we can only do so much municipal partnering. And I'm open-minded as to exactly what that partnering would be. It doesn't have to be trails. It just seems to me that that's sort of the most straightforward way to be able to do municipal partnering. And so I too would love to just have a kind of a better sense coming out of this of how we could do that, what the mechanics would look like, what a kind of shared funding arrangement might conceivably be. And that is one way we could ultimately put it to use, is if there's a pretty straightforward path for municipal partnering on trails. I think that would be super helpful. And, to Commissioner Withenden's point, the folks in the Western District, we love our parks and trails too, and having nearer access and a more general access, which I think trails and community parks are, that everyday people use more commonly. I know we would love to see that, but thank you for your work on it and look forward to the next steps.
Before I go to Commissioner Wagner, I just want to mention the example that he employed, which was the road districts, he is absolutely correct. We are not exactly coming out winners on that one. In fact, it's an issue that we're going to have to be dealing with at some point. So certainly, if we go down this path, I think that we need to learn lessons from that particular arrangement, because if I recall correctly, Parks is not swimming in money, is it? Or am I misinformed?
We got swim beaches, but we don't swim in money.
And that is what concerns me, is that I think these are great goals. I think that trail interconnectivity is, I think, a great goal for us to be going after. I think we need to be looking at what our, what it is we can actually afford to do. And perhaps we can afford this, but I think we need to have some pretty sharp pencils to make sure that we can maintain what we have, and then taking on more projects seems a bit of a lift, but certainly I suspect it is doable on some level. But I think that we should be realistic about what it is that we have in our coffers and what it is that we can afford to obligate citizens going forward, because if it means an increase, that's going to have to come from somewhere. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, and I think it's a good thing to be looking at, but if we're not realistic about the dollars and cents, we could find ourselves in another situation like the road districts, which is not enviable on the part of the county. With that, Commissioner Wagner?
I think you just actually taking in aspects of the last three comments. I would be very interested as you get to your final recommendations. I think you have to identify what is the low-hanging fruit. What is it that, and it may not even necessarily be low-hanging, but if you were to say, again, to act on what the plan is, I think suggesting in a whole universe of things, here is 1, 2, 3, or 4 things that you need to do, Clay County. But I'm also very cognizant of that slide that tells us what we spend versus what everybody else spends. And so there's a little bit of deck chair moving you can do, but in the end, that does not move you in a direction, I think, that is very transformative. And so to our presiding commissioner's comment, I would just note what I noted before, which is there are various taxing authorities we have in sales and in property tax, and I'm not saying let's go have another tax, but I do believe that if there is something of value that is identified, I have no problems putting it in front of people if they believe it's valuable too. But as opposed to just kind of spitballing it and throwing a dart at a dartboard, I think it would be extremely helpful to take all that information you have, everything that you've identified, and say, you know what, here are 3 or 4 or 5 things that Clay County you should do. And I think that at least provides some guidance to us to be able to say, okay, if that's going to be the most impactful, then we can have the further discussion of how to fund it, because the funding's not there currently to do it, I'm pretty sure. So, thank you.
If I could, we're not going to lose sight, though, of you saying swing for the fences kind of things, too. That is how the plan will be laid out. We're going to have the first tier of things that are, you really need to do these things. These are things you should do when you're able to. And then we don't want to lose track of aspirational things, is what we're calling them. They might not be in this 10-year plan. They likely are not. But we don't want you to lose sight of that. We've already found these to be something that's worth looking at.
Are there any more comments or questions? I'm assuming this was just for informational purposes only, and there is no consensus required from the commission at this time.
No, it's not. This was what it was, an update, but that also helped me. Some of this information I'm just now receiving because I wasn't here when you did the delay or that Commissioner Whittington was responding to. So this helps give me some more insight on what's requested and what's asked for. I think the team is up to the task and will be willing to get that done. The other portion, I think, going back to Commissioner Lawson's request, we will not put anything out until you guys give us, and it makes sense for a draft, and that's what she mentioned earlier about having a draft probably mid to late summer, get that out, get some feedback on that one, then come back to try to do something finalized. I think once you get more in your hands, that helps out too, something you can look at intangible, but we'll go back, and I think the overall map and things to point at would help us as well. To see the areas, because when you just see one particular area, going back to Whittington's comment, Commissioner Whittington, about showing just the Smithfield GIS information, that doesn't really give the gamut of what we're trying to do. And I think this slide here needs to be expanded upon what we really got from this. This doesn't really take in its tail what we're looking at when we look at those titles. It's a lot more to that. So nothing needed tonight. We'll move forward based off these updates. As mentioned, they're here to collect more information this weekend, as well as meet more with the staff and kind of go from there.
Very good. Anything to add? Thank you very much for your report. Excuse me. Our second discussion item is on the creation of a committee for Clay County Jail and Justice Center. Mr. Administrator, is that right?
Yes, discussion of creation of a committee for Clay County Jail and Justice Center. Commissioner Whittington will have more information regarding that one. I'll just hand that over to him.
Thank you very much for that. And I want to also say thank you for this coming up, because this is an issue that we need to move on. In my remarks on the state of the county, I'd said that this was, in fact, something we needed to move on very, very soon this year. And I hope that when we have our discussion, it will end with some form of instruction to staff to perhaps begin work on an RFP for a study on the committee would be great, but we're going to need to figure out what it is we're going to need to be looking at. So with that, Commissioner Whittington, please proceed.
Yeah, so, this is something the County Commission's been talking about for a while. In fact, I don't usually give her too much credit, but Luann Ridgway was the one who brought this up in 2017. So, and we haven't really done a whole lot on it. So what I have talked to the prosecutor, I've talked to some of the commissioners, I've talked to Sheriff Aiken, and I've talked to Damon. What I would like to see is a committee made up of 3 commissioners, the prosecutor's office, the sheriff's office, facilities, the courts, and the county administrator, to start looking at what exactly we need to do to move forward. I would envision that this group would, no more than a year, but look at current state, future state, come back with proposals, and then, issue a report to this commission on what their recommendations are and what their findings are, and then we can make a decision from there. And so, like I said, I've talked to the sheriff. He thinks it's a great idea. Talked to the prosecutor. He's good with it. Talked to Damon. Talked to some of the commissioners. So that's what I like to propose. It's time to quit talking about this. This is something that's desperately needed. Last week we learned that there was some big needs at the Justice Center also. So might as well just pull it all in at one time and look at everything.
I must say, I do agree with Commissioner Withington that this is the time to be looking at this. I think that while I think it's a good idea to put this together, I think at some level, sooner than later, we're going to have to get our arms around exactly what it is we're talking about, because we need to figure out what a mid-21st century detention facility looks like. And I don't know that any of us here, on the commission, although there's obviously experience here, but the experience of actually constructing something along those lines is quite an undertaking. And I think that we could take a few pointers from the LRC that we had just constructed, how difficult and how complicated this process can be. And that was clearly on a much smaller scale than what we're talking about here. So I think we need to be considering getting factual and objective information from an outside source sooner than later, so that when we are making these determinations, we are making it from a position of informed and thoughtful place. So with that, Commissioner Johnson, I believe you're next.
Yes, thank you. I agree with Commissioner Whittington. We've had some discussions about this, and I had several discussions, but a very lengthy one last night with our sheriff about this issue. And I agree. This isn't something we can kick down the road any longer. It'll most likely probably be one of the larger investments of the county financially, and how that is financed, who knows? What that looks like, who knows? But we got to start somewhere, and I think this is a good place to start. Get a group of people together and start doing first a needs assessment. What does the sheriff's office need? Not only now, but in the future. I know I think it's just this last weekend, he had, I want to say 430 something inmates. He didn't have 430 something beds. So that's a problem. And the sooner we can start on this, the better. It's been talked about for several commissions, like you said, all the way back to Luann. And it's time to stop talking about it and to start doing something. I think forming some kind of committee, some kind of commission or something that, with some folks that can do exactly that. And the things that Commissioner Nolte had mentioned, there's some serious things we've got to look at. Although we're not reinventing the wheel here. It's been done. It's been done several times throughout the nation. It's been done recently in Jackson County. So there's a framework out there to look at, but we got to start looking at it. Start looking at what we need, what it's going to cost, where it's going to go, how we're going to finance it, all those things. But we got to start somewhere, and I think this is a great idea. I appreciate you bringing this forward.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. I will note to the point that it's been talked about for quite a while. I remember talking about it when I ran for this office. So I'm glad that everyone's finally, hey, maybe we should do something. That's great. And whatever or however such a group is composed is fine. I would just say, just as in the case of Jackson County not so long ago, one, this is a multi-year deal. It's going to take a while. But number two, I think it is very important that there is professional assistance that comes along with this. I would note, and this is no offense to the sheriff, but I recall, sometimes looking for a location is a lot of work. And sometimes, like in the case of the LRC, there was a location, and then not everyone liked that location. And we found a great solution, I think, for what we have. But to me, you've got to have someone who will take those bullets sorry for that pun, actually, so that you don't have to, or anyone else on the commission or on a committee for that matter. So I don't know, so I'll just ask the administrator, have we set aside funds to assist an effort like this? I don't recall that we have.
We have not set aside funds as far as this in particular, no.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you do have funds and different things for contract situations that may come up throughout the year.
Yeah.
But I couldn't say anything of any amount for what you might need to do potentially like, I think one of you mentioned, like doing an initial review or a study
Yeah.
from beginning.
So I guess my whole point is simply that to match the will of the group to bring that conversation forward, it has to be matched with budget to help that group move that forward. So however that's done, I certainly agree it needs to happen. And just again, a reminder that it not only will take a long time to get to a point where we're opening something up, but it's got to have a long life too, right? So to me, that's the reason why you've got to make that investment in both time and money to make sure that whatever you've got is going to last and fulfill the needs that you need over time. But I appreciate the discussion coming forward. Long time coming. Glad we are discussing it. Thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yeah, thank you. I just think this is exactly the right next step. We have been talking about it for a lot of years at this point. The need has only grown during that time and is only going to keep growing. So obviously, the sooner we get started, probably the better. And I think just formalizing a process here and having some official folks who are intentionally working on it, which, and one of the things they can determine is who to hire and how much that's going to cost and those kind of things. So I think this committee can make those decisions, bring it back to the full commission, and make a recommendation along the way. I assume that'll happen more than once along the way, updates, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, it seems to me like exactly the right next step, and let's get it done.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, I just want to clarify in the conversations I've had with Commissioner Whittington and the sheriff, I don't expect this, whatever commission body is formed to look into this, to be the decision maker on anything. They're just gathering information for us. And also, I would think they'd have the ability to pull in other people, other experts, whatever it is they need to help gather that information. So basically, we have as much information as we can get before any decisions are ever made.
Yeah, the county commission would be the final say.
That's what I thought, okay.
Mention has been made, obviously, that we have talked about this for a long time, and there are a number of reasons for that, not the least of which is talk is cheap. It's cheap to talk about it. It's cheap to run it back and forth, and we are getting in a spot where we need to act. There's just no way around it, and that is why I think that we need to be looking at what funding mechanism we're going to have to bring in people who can give us expert opinions, because this is not, Commissioner Johnson is right, we're not reinventing the wheel, sort of. We're not reinventing the wheel, but then again, we're not trying to build a 2026 detention facility. We're trying to build a 2036, 2046 detention facility. That's going to require some expertise. So I don't think we can necessarily, I'm not saying we should write an endless check, but I'm also saying I don't think we get by on this thing on the cheap. We're talking about a significant investment of taxpayer money, which will in all likelihood need to be financed through a taxing mechanism of some sort. I don't know that there's another way around it. If someone's got a hot idea, I am all ears. But I think if we're going to contemplate bringing it forward, I mean, my goodness, when we did our search for the administrator, for our he's not new administrator anymore, but we did end up making an investment in experts, in some consultants to come in and help us do our search. We've done that on a number of projects, and I think we really need to be looking at bringing in expertise that is going to do two things. One is to inform not just this work group, but also the entire commission on what it is we're doing. But also we need to have that, I think there's nothing that gets you more motivated than when you've got an investment in there. This puts skin in the game on the part of the county. We could have a work group and we could talk about it for another 2 years or whatever. We need to make concrete and I think substantial commitments to go forward on this thing. This is not something that we just sort of hope, well, I hope this works out someday. We need to start really investing in this future because we talked about parks and that sort of thing, and parks are great, don't get me wrong. This goes to the core mission of this government. We have really two really big missions, one on roads and bridges, the other is to make sure that our law enforcement is adequate and that we're able to put basically bad people in jail, or at least certainly detain those suspected. So I think that we need to be thinking in terms of putting an actual skin in the game kind of a thing. Now, that doesn't have to be done today, and it should be at the recommendation perhaps of this work group. But I don't think we should fool ourselves into thinking that this is we're going to get out of this on the cheap. We need to be looking at what this is actually going to cost us. And I think there should be some investigation into what the cost would be to engage a firm. So I would like to see some of those numbers. Commissioner Withington, I believe you had your hand up. And then after that, I'll go to Commissioner Lawson, if that sounds okay with everybody. Commissioner, you're recognized.
Yeah, so I would say that hiring the firm that helped with Damon was a waste of money. I could have told you I could have told you Damon was the guy before we even hired Clay or whatever, you know. So maybe you guys should listen to me more often, Jerry. But save taxpayers some money. But no, I think you know, maybe we need some experts. I don't think anybody's trying to get out on the cheap on this, as you would say. But I think having a committee formed first to then they can make a recommendation. You know, that maybe that's the first recommendation they make. I don't know, but I think we need to hire or form this committee, and then we can move forward. So that's where I'm at.
And I was just wanting to make the point that we should not fool ourselves into thinking that this is going to be
I don't think anybody's
low cost.
Yeah, I don't
or
think
no
anybody's
cost.
fool. I don't think anybody's fool at that. I might have been an expert on picking Damon, but I'm no expert on you know.
I'm not
doing
sure
a jail-
Damon would have
doing
known
a jail.
about us absent the search firm, but we'll let that one go. But I'm sorry, please, did you have anything
Yeah,
else?
so
before I go
so I don't think anybody's trying to get out on the cheap, Jerry.
Okay, Commissioner, I almost said Joanne, I am sorry for being so informal. Commissioner Lawson, would you
Thank
care
you.
to
Thank you.
speak?
No, you know, just having said Luann was the last time it was mentioned, in all that time, nothing's been said, nobody's done anything. I know I've heard the sheriff say, "Got to do something about that jail, my gosh," you know, but nothing's happened. So I want to give a little pat on the back to Commissioner Withington because he had the guts to get going on this thing and saying, let's form a committee, let's do something about it. So, you know, I'd like to see you get that committee formed. And like you say, we don't have to go out and hire a consultant tomorrow, but as the people start seeing that sit on the committee, start seeing the needs and the direction, then we can look at that. Something, though, as we do this, the one thing I do want to say, the other day my husband went to the new Veterans Administration up at Excelsior Springs. And he was talking to the lady that was helping him with these forms, and he said, wow, this is a heck of a facility, really nice place. And she said, yeah. And then she got this piece of paper from him, went back, made a copy, came back. And he said, I got the feeling you're not real happy with this place. And she said, you know, it's beautiful. But she said, do you realize that the whole time this thing was being built, excuse me, not once did they ever sit down with the staff and say, what the hell would make your life easier? How can we make it so you have all these things that you need? And boy, that hit home when he mentioned that the other day. I thought, if there's anybody that needs to be involved, it needs to be those guys and gals that are putting their butts on the line up there, trying to keep that all organized and taken care of, that they need to have plenty of feedback on that.
I'm glad to see the sheriff stepping up. Because, no, this was, in fact, the sheriff and I think, talked about it prior to us going to the expanded, and I would be willing to bet that if we were to engage former Sheriff Escovo, he would talk about how he had probably had similar conversations about a jail with people, commissioners predating Commissioner Ridgway. So it's been talked about for a very long time. It's been talked up and down. We just need to make a commitment, in my estimation. But Sheriff, I digress. Please go ahead.
No, I appreciate it. Will Aiken, Clay County Sheriff. If you haven't heard me tell the story, the way we got the current jail is because Sheriff Quorum asked the inmates to sue him. I don't know if you knew that. And they did a class action lawsuit against Clay County, and we lost, and now we have a new jail, which is now a 42-year-old jail. Facilities does an amazing job trying to upkeep the jail, but it feels like every time something breaks, it costs $100,000 or more. And so we absolutely need a jail. But the reason why I came up here, because this is really discussion, and it pleases me to no end that we are now creating a committee, because I have 10 years of knowledge of having this conversation with vendors, architects, partners, and I am ready to get it out on the table and start making some decisions to present to you to ultimately make the final decision on what direction we go. But when I went and visited Jackson County's jail, beautiful. I mean, that was set up the way a jail is supposed to be set up, with the exception of they didn't ask the staff what they thought. And when I got to the max security area, they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna have one person here. And I said, in a room where there's 80 max security inmates? I said, that doesn't make sense to me. Well, you know, we kind of ran out of money. And I was just like, oh, there we go. Yeah. We ran out of money, we did some shortcuts. And now I fear for those employees' lives that are in there if they don't make some protocol changes. And I made it very vocal. Damon was with me, and I was like, no, this doesn't make sense to me. Now, I'm not an expert at building jails either, but I've seen the inside of several. And there is a way to do it today. And it's not building up above the administration offices, because whenever they flush inmate uniforms in the toilets and all that stuff, where does the water go? In the administration area. And that's some of the issues that we're dealing with right now. Now, they have great toilets that prevent that from happening now. But I mean, we're talking, I need 300,000, no, actually a little bit more than that. Donna can confirm. We probably need $1 million to fix just the locks on the doors, okay? We won't have to worry about what that with a new facility, but it's not just building a new facility. We cannot vacate the current jail. I think that would be an economic disaster for the city of Liberty, and for the fact that Missouri statute says that in order for us to have a courthouse, which I hope we have a courthouse associated or inside the jail to fast track people through the system, it has to be in the county seat. So it still has to be in Liberty. We can't just build a jail well, just say outside of Liberty. We also, if we're going to keep the courthouse where it's at, okay, we can use the current facility if we renovate it, as well as renovate the courthouse to sustain the operations. We can keep all of our trial inmates in the facility here, and then the ones that are spending 2 to 4 weeks because we have a backlog at the courthouse, we can fast track them through within 3 days at the other location. So it's not just building a jail. I mean, there's an economic development aspect to this, but it's also how are we serving our citizens, our community members, when they're in jail for 2 to 4 weeks on something that was so simple that they could have been out within 3 days. But it's also the backlog for the judges, right? And I think this will also help us. And with some other talks, we'll be able to fix some other issues. But I'm super happy that we're finally getting to this point where we're creating a committee to have these conversations. Because as much as I would like to for all of this to happen tomorrow and have a new jail, that's just not feasible. I mean, I'm still looking at 7 to 10 years out. I mean, that's a realistic outlook for a project like this. So thank you very much for putting this committee together or recommending it, and for all of you entertaining that idea. And I'm looking forward to getting to work on this. So thank you.
By the way, thank you very much for the conversations that we've had. One of the things that I was very much wanting to do, and that was when I made my State of the County remarks, obviously I wanted to talk to you first. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting out ahead of my skis here. And I wanted to make sure that we were doing something that was constructive, because what the object was to push the agenda item, not necessarily start putting markers out there that would unnecessarily constrain either the commission nor yourself, nor your office. One of the things that we talked about a little earlier also was the car metaphor. If you've got, if you've got a 2012, 2014 car, and it's worth $5,000, you cannot put $8,000 into it and expect a good result. So I think we need to be looking at what it is we need to do. 42 years is a long time. And I think we've reached the point where urgency is certainly at its tipping point. So this is something that we need to make sure that we push as a priority going forward. Because this is, like I say, this is our base mission, folks. This is what we are supposed to do. This is what our citizens put us in place to do. And we need to move forward on this, because if we don't, we are, I think, being somewhat neglectful of our duties as elected officials. And the other part of that is you and also Sheriff Vescovo have done excellent work under sometimes less than ideal circumstances. You deserve our support, and you deserve a first-class facility. It's been said that a first-class county, as ourselves, deserves a first-class government. We also not just deserve, but we need a first-class detention facility that is both secure, that is good for our employees, and of course, that is humane for those we are keeping under confinement, because many of them are awaiting trial and therefore technically not guilty. So we need to make sure that we are structuring it in such a way, and we've had discussions about this as well, about how it is you segregate dangerous and non-dangerous inmates or detainees. There are so many moving parts, and I appreciate the fact that you have such a command of that information. I mean, your information is incredibly valuable, and so I appreciate that.
Absolutely, thank you. And I would be remiss also to not mention Donna Kuntz and her team. They do a wonderful job over in the jail, but Donna was also with Damon and I when we went to go visit the Jackson County Jail. And I mean, she was quiet the whole time. So I really don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. No, we had conversations. It was a good thing, because they did it mostly right. And I'm happy for them. But I think now for what we need in Clay County it's upon us. I mean, it's really, we're behind. But it's not just the government, it's not just the sheriff's office, but the people of Clay County deserve it too. Because I tell people all the time that most of the people who are in my facility are law-abiding citizens who made a mistake. They're good people, and they made a mistake. But when they are held for a lot longer than what they're supposed to, just because we're backlogged or we don't have the right processes in place, because we're hamstrung by the way the facility is built, which I'm sure made sense 45 years ago, it just doesn't make sense today. But we know how to build jails today to make sure that doesn't happen. And as much as I say, we need to plan for the future, and we need 400 to 600 beds. Well, perhaps not right now, but let's build it in a way that allows us to phase in other additional phases as the county continues to grow. Not running out of money, so we're not cutting corners and putting employees' lives at risk in a max security area. Stuff like that. And so as much as I think I know, we will not be able to know what direction to go to until we have the right people giving us those assessment results and stuff like that. So we have a lot of work to do.
You're so totally right, because like I say, we're not building a 2026 facility, even if we could get it done with a snap of a finger. We're looking at a 2036, 2046 facility that when we are all just pictures on the wall, our successors are going to say, well, they did this one right. And that's what we need to be striving for.
And I really feel like right now, in the 13 and a half years that I've been with the county, right now is the time to do it, because we have an amazing team working together, an amazing team who has a tremendous amount of knowledge that can make this happen. So that's why I'm ready to go. I'm energized with this.
Commissioner Johnson?
And the last thing, like we talked about last night, Sheriff, is not only is the jail facility important, but the proper staffing for a new jail facility. Those go hand in hand.
Yes, and on that point, we talk about economic development, but this is also job development. I mean, in order to build another facility and catch up with the shortages that I have right now, we're looking at creating another 75 to 100 jobs potentially. And so that's, again, another aspect that I'm also looking at. And yes, to your point, we have to look at that as well.
And you made that point a couple of times, and of course, when we've had our conversations, you've made that point to me as well, and that is the economic development aspect of it. And I think, I think you look at what the positive benefits are, and I don't think people generally think of a facility like this as being economic development, but if you don't have safe communities, you don't have economic development. If you don't have, and again, as Commissioner Johnson mentioned, I thought that was an excellent point, that yes, we need good professionals who are well-paid and well-motivated and well-trained. So this is a huge undertaking. It's more than just stacking some bricks on top of each other and calling it good. There is a huge aspect to this, but I think, right now, I think Clay County is up to the task, and I think we need to grab the initiative on this. Commissioner Withington.
Yeah, so ready to move this forward. So how do we do this to nominate commissioners to be on this? How do we do that?
Well, I think probably the framework you have identified, we could just put that into a resolution in the next week or two, with the groupings of names as you've identified, and then the commission itself can identify which commissioners.
So do we just need to pick 3?
Well, I would say, what I would suggest is just give staff direction that you're ready to have that resolution go forward, and then on the night of that resolution, you can identify who you want to serve.
All right, so can we get this on agenda for next week, so that way we don't lose any more time?
Again, and Mr. Hodges will be gone, I think, next week. It might be better to do in 2 weeks.
Okay.
If everybody's okay with that.
I didn't know you.
You might have input on this, but.
I didn't know you were going to be gone, so.
By the way,
You should have checked with me first, man. It wasn't on my calendar. Supposed to let your bosses know before you leave.
We're going back to that. It could be, for the most part, going the resolution, 2 weeks would probably work. That work.
That works, yeah.
by the way, I would, just something that occurs to me is if we had 2 commissioners there, that would allow one commissioner just to kind of be able to participate, so it's not quite so closed a circle, so that if it were Commissioner, say, Wagner and Commissioner Johnson, if, say, Commissioner Lawson wanted to attend a meeting, she could, or if Commissioner Thompson did, or whoever, that would allow a broader spectrum of commissioners to be participating without establishing quorum. Just a suggestion.
Well, that's why I proposed 3. 3 wouldn't be a quorum, would it?
Well, let me address that. So the way the Sunshine Law works, when you appoint a commission, a committee of anything, even if no commissioner sits on it, that body is now a public body. So to be honest, you can put every commissioner on it. I wouldn't recommend that, of course. But it's a public body regardless of whether 1, 2, or 5 commissioners are in attendance.
So that we don't have to worry about well, like I say, it's Commissioner Thompson, Johnson, and Wagner. If Commissioner Lawson would like to just drop in and sit in, that would have no consequence.
Correct, because it
Okay,
is
good.
otherwise a
In that
public
case,
body.
I feel much better about that, because what I want to do is to have a broad as possible
Now, what shouldn't
participation.
happen in that scenario, let's say that scenario happens, what shouldn't happen is if we have 4 or 5 commissioners there, those 4 or 5 commissioners then say, well, we can commit that the county commission will now do this because that's a different body. So as long as they're not committing to action on behalf of the county commission, I think it's just fine.
It's good to know those. I'm glad you reviewed those ground laws, ground rules, because we need to be cognizant of those as we go forward, and we need the broadest possible participation, in my opinion, of commissioners who would like to be, and there may be facets of this issue that one commissioner would be more interested or have something to add than another area, so that allows the greatest participation possible. I think that's important. Especially, like I say, this is one of the larger projects we're probably going to be engaging in. So we need to make sure that we get as many people, as many eyeballs on this as possible.
So I guess we just, in 2 weeks, Damon, you say you'll be able to get this on?
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess next thing we need to do is get a consensus.
Actually,
So
Actually, I'm gonna
Commissioner
say-
Withington, would you go ahead and go forward with?
Damon wanted to talk real
I was
quick.
going to say, if it's okay with you, we can put it on the agenda for next week. I will not be here, but Donna will be in my place to do the meeting. But if it's something you as a commission would like to move forward to, we can put it on the agenda, and you guys can vote on that next week.
That's fine with me, that's fine. yeah.
That's what we'll do.
Okay, does everybody, is that the commission consensus? I see head nods all the way around, so that, Mr. Administrator, do you need anything else to go forward, or do you feel you have the information you need?
I'm fine with what we have.
Okay, if you're comfortable, then unless there's anyone else who would like to comment before we close out, that will end this discussion. Thank you very much for everybody for this. This is a spirited discussion. I like this a lot. That ends our discussion items. That brings us to the county administrator comments. Mr. Administrator.
Sure, I'll be brief tonight. We have our next meeting scheduled is April 30th. As just mentioned, Donna Kuntz will be taking my place for that one. I'll be attending the Missouri County City Managers Conference. The other one is that our next Constitution Review Committee meeting will be May 7th, which is the same day as our meeting. Will be from 4 to 5:30. As mentioned in the last meeting, we've reviewed all the items thus far, and now we're coming back to look at additional language. And that'll be it for me this evening.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Carpenter, we will begin with you on commissioner comments, if you would like. Commissioner Thompson, Commissioner Johnson, you are recognized.
Yes, two things. First, I don't know if this body recognized this or not, but I wanted to if we didn't, I wanted to congratulate our auditor, Victor Hurlbert, and our prosecutor, county prosecutor, Zach Thompson, for both winning re-election. They are running unopposed. Filing deadline has passed. They are running unopposed, which means they won. So congratulations to both of them, and we're fortunate to have both of them in their respective positions. So anyways, congratulations to them. And the second thing is I would like to see up for a discussion item soon. I've talked with at least one or two other commissioners, but see if everybody else agrees. And it has to be when you are here. And that is SB 190 again. I want to have a discussion about where we're at on two things. One, about just processing the bills and stuff, the issues we had last time. And the second thing about the concept, the idea of eliminating re-signing up every year for seniors. We had some discussion about that in the past, but trying to, I know Platte County, I think, has implemented that. I'm not sure what they did. I think other counties have as well. I'm not sure what they're doing, how they're doing it, but they're not having their seniors come back every year. It's just an initial sign up, and that's it. So hopefully we can have some discussions on that, and the bottom line is we want to be ready to go by the end of the year.
Sure. And we got a couple items on that we'll give an update on. One is, first of all, we're going to give you an update next week, the monthly update that Commissioner Whittington asked for by the end of next week. But that will be in writing, but we can do that as a discussion item. Let's make that probably May 14th. That would be a better time frame.
Okay.
Give us a little bit more time to review the portion you're talking about regarding that.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Wagner. Commissioner Lawson? Oh, I'm sorry, hold on.
Turn me
There you
on
go.
there. All I wanted to tell you was that in a half hour, the severe weather will be here, so.
Thank you for that bulletin, very helpful indeed. Commissioner Withington?
So just want to say, I'm glad that Royals conversation is over, that those people wrote the book on how not to do it. Did anybody else get a thank you card from Quentin Lucas? I mean, we carried that legislation for him down in Jeff City, Clay County did, so he at least owes us a thank you. But in serious, it's been 24 days since filing deadline has ended. And since that time, we still have one candidate who was removed from the Kansas City TIF Commission and another candidate who is still on the Kansas City TIF Commission. And I think that's pretty hypocritical that one person's held to a standard that another's not. And I'm going to keep pointing that out until our presiding commissioner corrects that.
I will keep my comments short because the rather old song, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, keeps ringing in my ears. So to avoid that particular situation, we are adjourned.